Question. Real estate in California. What the Seriously, can someone help? What's an escrow? What's an ARM? What is an REO? What is pre-approval? Can I get pre-approval? Why is inventory so low? Why are interest rates so high? Oh, interest rates not so high? How low is low? How not so high is right.
Before you go down the road of questions, get expert help at championsofhome.com. California Association of Realtors. Who's your realtor? Are high-interest credit cards or personal loans weighing you down? Unlock gives homeowners a smarter option. With a home equity agreement, you can tap into your home's equity for cash today, and there are no monthly payments. Here's how it works. Unlock provides funds upfront and in exchange shares in a portion of your home's future value. That means you keep control with the flexibility to use your equity your way. Pay off bills, invest in home improvements, or set aside savings for peace of mind. For thousands of homeowners, Unlock has been the key to moving forward without the pressure of another payment. Put your equity to work for you. Visit unlock.com to learn more about a home equity agreement. That's unlock.com to learn more.
Terms and conditions apply. Not all homeowners will qualify. Not available in all states. Actor Portrayal. Home equity agreements are offered by Unlock Home Equity Solutions, Inc. In certain states, NMLS number 2657081. Visit www.consumeraccess.org for more info.
Hey folks, what can we learn from the current political situation in America? Why copying America is bad for Australia? Further to that, what ramifications does it potentially have for Australians? There is no denying that Australia tends to follow the United States in terms of business trends and culturally to some extent. This is no accident, of course, as many of these things are actively imported by local parties wishing to profit from their uptake down under. Examples of this include neoliberalism, the gig economy, the fast food sector, big tech monopolies, and the manosphere. President Donald Trump dominates the global news right now with his succession of tariffs and now wars inflating economies detrimentally. Trump leads the right-wing party known as the Republican Party or the GOP. Republicans have long been the party of conservatism and were once considered the better economic managers than their rivals. This has all changed under Trump as his MAGA base took over via primaries and imposed the politics of grievance, protesting against wokeness and anything vaguely considered progressive. Trump hates renewable energies like wind and solar. Aussie right-wingers follow America. Those on the right shifted their pitch from responsible economic management to the culture wars instead. This much more emotive fodder has impassioned right-wing voters around issues like gender reassignment for teenagers, LGBTQI stuff more generally, illegal immigration, refugees, DEI, and race/national identity. President Trump champions white supremacy and misogyny on a daily basis via his constant truth social posts. MAGA eats this up for breakfast, lunch and tea. Bemoaning the fate of the poor white man has become a favourite national pastime. The politics of grievance feeds on the millions of folk who feel hard done by via their lifetime experiences. One Nation in Australia is mining that rich vein of grievance right now in a bid to reproduce the American results here. Selfish folk who only think of themselves, which is a common right-wing trait, often find that they did not get everything they wanted and are looking for someone other than themselves to blame. Populist politics is all about the blame game and harvesting the protest vote for their own electoral gain. Has President Trump delivered on his promises to MAGA voters on affordability and no more forever wars? No, he hasn't. Populists rarely deliver the solutions they promise prior to gaining office. In Australia, We witnessed the right, formerly led by the strident Peter Dutton before his electoral smashing, embarking on the culture wars over the old sore of responsible economic management. Dutton was victorious in leading the no vote in a referendum about an Indigenous voice to Parliament. He railed against the right's usual suspects: refugees, immigration, gender stuff, wokeness, and racial minorities in the firing line. Peter Dutton and the Libs left economic credibility far behind in their batshit crazy nuclear power policy. Then they made the fateful step to bring out Trump's campaign manager to Australia for the federal election in 2025. The outcome was a disaster of epic proportions, leaving Labor with the largest parliamentary advantage ever. Pauline Hanson, the leader of One Nation, has visited Trump's Mar-a-Lago and sings Donald Trump's praises. Her oligarchical benefactor, Gina Rinehart, wants a MAGA-like Australia, where she can more freely, profitably mine its resources. Less red tape is often a euphemism for cronyism and kleptocracy. So bear that in mind when they talk about slashing government waste. Right-wing populist parties seek to ride the protest vote engendered by the politics of grievance for their own aggrandizement. Remember that Trump is the lesson in real time, folks. Don't look away. Pauline Hanson loves Trump. Australia likes to copy the US, and especially those on the right. Former PM Tony Abbott, who sold the Port of Darwin to the Chinese, is a big fan of One Nation these days. Tony tried to make Australia more like America via his unsuccessful push to privatise our top universities during his time in government. The right has spent 50 years trying to kill off Medicare to leave us in the invidious health insurance space that America lives in, where more Americans declare bankruptcy over their inability to meet their medical bills than for any other single reason. Neoliberalism is an American political/economic poison, which has infected much of the world, selling off valuable public assets cheaply to private interests, with the promise of greater efficiencies and cheaper services for consumers. The promises were never delivered on cheaper prices for consumers, but made a few billionaires along the way. Have a think about the recent American business trends and inventions. The fast food sector is economically predicated upon young adults not being paid proper wages for their work. The gig economy, likewise, has delivery drivers and riders often not earning the minimum hourly rate, whilst risking their own vehicles at their own expense. These sectors are exploiting workers for the benefit of shareholders and consumers. America promotes dog-eat-dog, zero-sum games for the benefit of the wealthy. American multinationals like Uber and McDonalds avoid paying their fair share of corporate tax in Australia by shifting their profits to tax havens via dubious IP charges to associated entities in the hundreds of millions of dollars. You can see a pattern here where American companies don't want to pay taxes and pay their workers and subcontractors as little as possible. This is the America they are exporting to Australia, and which Pauline Hanson is so enamoured of. Pauline Hanson loves Trump. The right is eating itself down under. One Nation has just won the Farrer by-election, taking it from the Liberal Party after its former leader, Susan Ley, retired from politics after a recent defeat in a leadership spill to Angus Taylor. The right in Australia and elsewhere is in thrall to the far right and the manosphere. Whilst Pauline Hanson might not be a bloke, she has long spoken plainly about her racist and white supremacist views. One Nation has strong appeal in regional and outer suburban areas where Australians do not live closely together and have not learned to tolerate diversity. Anglo-white settler antecedents run much stronger in regional areas down under than in cities. Farrer has never been held by the Labor Party, and they did not field a candidate in this most recent contest. It is a regional seat most often held by the National Party or the Libs. One Nation is eating up the vote of the coalition and may well force its way into that political marriage of convenience. Who said that 3 is a crowd at this new time of Trumpian morals on the right? I mean, Donald Trump is known as a sexual abuser and used to hang out closely with Jeffrey Epstein as his best buddy. Those on the right celebrate the manosphere and men taking what they want, however. Interestingly, American Christian nationalists have made a pact with Trump despite his criminal and sexual proclivities. Something about doing deals with the devil must appeal to these once righteous folk. The price of power is sullying oneself with unsavoury characters in this tryst. The manosphere rules these fans of Old Testament religion, where women must know their place beneath their master. The South plays a large part in Trump's electoral success. The former slave states still hold the whip hand via gerrymandering to keep the blacks down, and their version of Christianity was never hampered by the institution of slavery back then. The invention of a blue-eyed Jesus, whiter than white, continues the exceptional American talent for manufacturing fictions and selling them en masse. The Supreme Court, SCOTUS, has just struck down the last vestiges of the Voting Rights Act, freeing the South to rig their voting maps even more effectively to squash any seats that might have voted Democrat. Donald Trump is a mob boss who has sewn up the Republican Party tighter than his own wallet. It means that Americans in the South have lost what little democratic rights they had to cast a meaningful vote. This is what totalitarian regimes do to stay in power. So, as you sit there sipping your bourbon, your JD or Jim Beam and Coke, have a think about your own slavish adherence to America. Perhaps you are fiddling with your devices running Microsoft Windows or chatting on Facebook or Instagram or WhatsApp. Maybe you are asking ChatGPT about the meaning of life and getting it to write your resume. Ask yourself, who the fuck am I? Do you actually have an identity outside of big tech screen time? The shows you watch on streaming services and the wall-to-wall digital entertainment filling your waking hours? You may be in harness via the home loan you are paying off and feeding the huge profits of the big banks, or struggling to meet unaffordable rent on the roof over your head. You want change, some relief from the grindingly oppressive cost of living. Just remember the Trump experiment in America and how that is going for folk over there. Copying America is what got us in the shit in the first place. Greedy bastards and billionaires sucking us dry. Don't fall for the first mob promising stuff that you want to hear. Charlatans in the model of Trump have no shame. Be careful what you wish for. You have been listening to Robert Sudha Hamilton. I've got a new book out. It's called The AI Heresy, A Betrayal of Humanity. You can get a digital copy at midasword.com.au, midasword.com.au. Thanks for listening, folks.